So if you are a Presonus Studio One user and you work with orchestral sample libraries such as Cinematic Studio Strings or Flute Shorts or Nucleus or Araya, you probably know about the problem of how Studio One handles negative delay. So let me quickly explain why negative delay is so important. So to put it simple, some scripting languages, for example in Contact, are very demanding, especially when it comes to legato or repetition patches. So let's check this little sketch up here. Let's say you loaded a very complex legato patch of a string library and you play the C and then go to the upper G, for example. There is a little bit of delay until you can actually hear the G. And this delay is very important for that process because there is something happening before you actually reach the target node. So the red arrow above is actually the delay time that is needed for the Contact script to react, to know what's going on when you go from C to the next G. And to compensate this reaction time, you would have to introduce negative delay because you want to have that target node of that legato interval right at your downbeat. So if you work in Studio One and use any of these libraries, you know that it can get pretty messy. But there is a solution to this. Let's check it out. Okay, so let me just show you a simple example of what Studio One is kind of messing up and how you can fix this. So as you can see here, I loaded these spiccato violas of Audio Imperia's Araya. So all kinds of sample libraries introduce different delay times. For Araya, but also Nucleus, the sample start is set to 125 milliseconds. This means if you press a note, it needs 125 milliseconds until you hear the note. So you can test this on your own. If you set the sample start to 0 and play a legato patch, it sounds kind of unrealistic. If you set it to minus 125 milliseconds, it starts to sound pretty cool. And even if you set it to minus 250 milliseconds, you give Contact the most time and the best options, so to say, to give you the best legato transition from, for example, from that C to G. So to keep it simple for now, let me just play you this little spiccato passage here with a delay time set to 125 milliseconds. So you can hear that the patch doesn't really sound in time, and this is why we have to set this negative delay to minus 125 milliseconds to compensate the sample start time of Araya. However, what Studio One does sounds like this. So as far as I know, this is not exactly how 16th notes are supposed to sound. And if you have a full orchestral arrangement going on with all kinds of different sample libraries, all kinds of different articulations, it gets really, really messy. However, if you really want to stick with Studio One and don't change digital audio workstations, there is actually a pretty cool solution to this. So let me show you how. There is a little plugin called minus delay, and what I'm doing right now is simply drag and drop this onto my Contact instance, and you can see that it opens up here. However, the next little problem with this plugin that you don't see any values. You can just drag it around and you don't know exactly where it is. You can just see that the most negative delay is minus 400 milliseconds. So how do you solve this? The easiest solution is just simply hit right here and then you just move that. And then you can see that it paints some automation here, some automation information. Then you check it back to read. And what you do now is that you want to get one of these starting points here, delete the rest, and you want to set this to minus 125 milliseconds. So you may want to use the Shift key to exactly set it to minus 125 milliseconds. Okay, so now I set it to minus 125 milliseconds. You would say that you can simply type the value. No, it doesn't work. If I would put the value right now, it would go back to minus 400. Don't ask me why this happens. However, we set it now to this delay time. And now if I play back the patch and get rid of the negative delay here, it sounds like this. And don't worry, you don't have to do this all the time. Simply hit that little button here, say store preset, and then you say, for example, Araya 125, and you're good to go. So what you can do now is create presets for all kinds of sample libraries you're using. So as said, right now, Araya and Nucleus use on default minus 125 milliseconds, but if you want the most realistic legato, for example, you set it to minus 250. If you work with flute shorts too by performance samples, you need a negative delay of minus 100 milliseconds. If you use Cinebrass, for example, you need around minus 80 milliseconds. If you need the staccato strings of Symphobia, I remember minus 40 milliseconds. Last but not least, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if you're using Cinematic Studio strings and you set it to the most advanced legato options, you need up to minus 300 milliseconds. Okay, so I hope I was able to give you a good impression on why negative delay is so important. However, please keep in mind, and I'm just guessing here, that the Presonus team is definitely aware of this problem, and I'm pretty sure that there will be a fix sooner or later coming for this problem. But for now, this little minus delay plugin may come in pretty handy. If you want to get it, please check the video description below. I put a link to that website and you can download this actually for free. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or suggestions, please use the comment section below. I would be happy if you like this video, even subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. And as always, thank you so much for your time and see you on the next video.